Nathan Zegura here at First Energy Stadium, where the Browns delivered a Halloween treat, and frankly, a lot of treats to their fans. One we've been waiting for, 32-13 winners over the Cincinnati Bengals. That's the fifth straight game in which the Browns have beaten the Bengals, and 8 of the last 9, including 4-0 against Joe Burrow, who has to see the Browns on the schedule and think this is a house of horrors for me. The Browns would sack Burrow 5 times today. They would limit an offense that had been the most explosive in the league over the last 2 weeks, albeit without Jamar Chase, but they bottled up T. Higgins, they bottled up Joe Mixon, they bottled up Tyler Boyd, all of whom came into this game red hot. So the Browns defensively were phenomenal. Offensively, they were great as well. This is the team that we were hoping to see all season put it together for 60 minutes. And was it perfect? No, of course not. The Browns still had a couple of turnovers on offense. Jacoby Brissett with a sack strip fumble. He lost one. And then on a trick play, Amari Cooper was hit as he was throwing. That led to an early interception. In fact, because of some of those shortfalls, the interception, it was 0-0 in the first quarter. But the Browns would then march down the field in the second quarter, and Nick Chubb would punch it in. A creative play called near the goal line by Kevin Stefanski. He would empty out Jacoby Brissett to receiver. Chubb was alone in the backfield. He'd take the direct snap. He'd run it in. The Browns would take the lead 6-0. On the ensuing extra point, the Bengals would have 12 men on the field. Kevin Stefanski said, let's be aggressive. Let's go for 2 now from the 1-yard line. They brought in Michael Dunn. They brought in James Hudson. They brought in Drew Forbes. 8 offensive linemen, the first time anybody's had 8 offensive linemen on the field this year in the NFL. They gave it to Nick Chubb. He would score. Hudson with a huge block on that one, and he was fired up. So it would be 8-0. After a missed field goal by the Bengals, the Browns would get a field goal of their own, 55 yards from Cade York. It would be 11-0 going into the half with the Browns getting the football. They would take control right there, march down the field on the opening drive of the second half. It was another touchdown, and the Browns were up at this point 18-0. They would go up 25-0 before the Bengals would finally get on the board, making it 25-6 when they missed an extra point. We would get to the finals. The Browns continued to answer the call, taking advantage of the injuries in the secondary. Nick Chubb would finish with 2 rushing touchdowns on the day. Amari Cooper would score a touchdown, as he has done now in all 5 games at First Energy Stadium this field, and it was perfect. Offensively, Chubb over 100 yards and the 2 scores. He now has 10 touchdowns in the first 8 games of the year, the first Browns player to do that since Jim Brown in the 1950s. Kareem Hunt would give you 72 total yards. In the passing game, Jacoby Brissett was phenomenal. 17 of 22, over 270 yards passing, 1 touchdown. He'd also run for a touchdown in this game, so he had 2 total touchdowns, a quarterback rating of 133, his best on the season. Cooper, over 100 yards and a touchdown. DPJ, over 80 yards receiving. He's now given you 50 or more in 5 straight games, the longest such streak of his career. And so this team was phenomenal on offense once they got it going. It took a little while. Took a quarter to get going, but once they did, they were relentless, scoring 3 second-half touchdowns on a team in the Cincinnati Bengals that had not allowed a single touchdown in the second half of a game all season long. The Browns snapped that streak, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And then defensively, you were without Denzel Ward. You were without Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. You would have to step up, and boy, did they ever step up. And Myles Garrett with the lights on, prime time, your biggest star, shone the brightest. He would have a sack of Joe Burrow, but it was his tip that led to an interception by A.J. Green early in this game. And so Myles was dominant. Sione Takitaki, 13 tackles. A sack, a forced fumble, and a sack strip fumble that the Browns would recover. He was everywhere. It was the best tackling performance I've maybe ever seen by a Browns team. They didn't miss a single tackle in the open field. Taki was electric. You go and you think about M.J. Emerson playing that spot. Greg Newsome coming in with an oblique injury. They thought he'd be limited. He didn't come off the field. They didn't even throw at him. M.J. Emerson, 3 PBUs on the day. He was great. A.J. Green, Greedy stepping up. The safeties, Delpit, and of course John Johnson getting it done. Deion Jones getting in the action. The Browns would blitz their linebackers. Taki'd have a sack. And Deion Jones would have a sack as well. The Browns would sack Burrow 5 times, as I said in this one, forcing 2 turnovers. It was just a complete team performance. Still things you can clean up. Another block kick in this one on a Cade York field goal attempt. The 2 turnovers I talked about. But for the most part, this was as complete a game as the Browns could played all year. Back-to-back games, incredibly efficient on offense. Back-to-back games, incredibly efficient on defense. In fact, this was probably one of the best defensive performances of the year, coming off a very strong performance against Baltimore. So the Browns are back in it, 3-5. They dropped the Bengals to 4-4. They trail the Ravens, who are at 5-3. The Browns did lose to the Ravens, so they'll have to make that up in the second half of the season. But they sit at 2-1 in the division. The Bengals fall to 0-3. That's big. But this one has to be a relief. This is the team that these coaches knew they had. They prepared him well. The scheme on both sides today absolutely exploited and took advantage of the Bengals. And then the execution by the players was nearly flawless. This was a great win for this football team, a great win for the city of Cleveland. You go into the bye week now, you kind of get to enjoy that and then get ready to go down to Miami and hopefully beat the Dolphins and get your 4th win of the season in a big one. But tonight, you had to have it. The season was on the line. The Browns delivered their best performance under those circumstances. It was a Halloween treat for all of us to enjoy, and we're going to be breaking it down tomorrow on Cleveland Browns Daily. Myself, Bo Bishop, and the Hoff, Joe Thomas. It's going to be a lot of fun. So come on, join the party. Bring your candy. We have treats for everyone. Browns, big win tonight over the Bengals when they had to have it, and you love to see that.